Real strength isn't about how loud you are or how quickly you can fire back at someone. Real strength is when you can feel everything. The anger, the hurt, the disrespect, the confusion, and still choose not to let it control you. Real power is when you have every reason to react, but you don't. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times has a single text ruined your entire mood? How many times has one careless comment shifted the way your whole day felt? It happens more than we like to admit. You're fine one moment, steady, calm, moving forward, and then suddenly someone's tone, someone's words, or someone's look pulls you off balance. That's not random. That's not just stress. That's what happens when emotions lead your life. And if you don't learn how to take back control, it will keep happening over and over again. You'll find yourself saying things you don't really mean. You'll do things that don't actually help. You'll hurt people you care about, or you'll hurt yourself. Not because you're a bad person, but because no one ever taught you how to pause. This isn't about ignoring your feelings. It's about learning how to guide them instead of being dragged by them. It's about being able to sit in the middle of the storm and still choose your next move with clarity. Because once you master the skill of not reacting, everything in your life begins to change. You stay calmer. You think clearer. You protect your energy. And that's what this message is about. How to stop letting emotions take over and finally begin leading your life from a place of strength. Chapter 1 begins here. Face the urge to react without needing to obey. You're going to face moments in life that shake you. Moments where something someone says hits you hard. Times when a message arrives that stirs something heavy inside you. Or maybe someone's tone comes off as sharp, dismissive, or disrespectful. In those exact moments, you feel something build inside you. A tightness in your chest, a lump in your throat, maybe even a tingling in your hands. And right there, your emotions scream for a reaction. But here's the truth most people never realize. Just because the urge shows up doesn't mean you have to follow it. Just because anger rises doesn't mean you need to lash out. Just because you feel hurt doesn't mean you need to defend yourself instantly. That feeling is real, yes. But you always have a choice. And that choice is where your power lives. The world doesn't teach us to pause. The world teaches us to react. Defend yourself fast. Clap back immediately. Prove you're right. Prove you're strong. Prove you won't be disrespected. And that's exactly why so many people stay stuck. They live their whole lives obeying every emotional impulse. They believe their feelings are the truth, when in reality, emotions are not facts, they are signals. And signals are meant to be observed, not blindly obeyed. There is always a space, a very small one, between what you feel and what you do next. Most people ignore that space. The strong ones train themselves to live inside it. The moment something upsets you, there's a split second where you feel the heat rise. Your thoughts race. Your body tightens. In that tiny window, you have two options. Act on the emotion, or observe it without giving in. That right there is self-control. That right there is discipline. It's not about being numb or cold. It's about refusing to let every emotional wave drag you wherever it wants. You have to start asking better questions in that space. Not, how do I respond right now? But, do I even need to respond at all? Not, what do I say back? But, is this worth my energy? When someone insults you, you don't have to respond. When someone criticizes you unfairly, you don't have to prove yourself. When someone tries to push your buttons, you don't have to give them the satisfaction of winning. And most importantly, when your own emotions scream for attention, you don't have to give them the final say. You are not weak for feeling angry. You are not broken for feeling hurt. You are human. But your real strength shows when you refuse to let those emotions run your behavior. Reacting out of impulse gives power to everything outside of you. Choosing not to react gives power back to you. And here's the best part. This isn't something you're either born with or not. This is a muscle you can build. But like any muscle, it takes work. It takes daily awareness. It takes repetition. Start small. When someone cuts you off in traffic, don't explode. When a stranger comments something disrespectful online, don't let it ruin your day. When someone speaks in a tone you don't like, notice the urge rising but don't obey it. Just sit with it. Breathe. Feel it fully without rushing to respond. That's where real control begins. Not with some grand dramatic gesture, but with small wins. The truth is, you will always feel the pull to react. That urge will always be there. But you are not your emotions. You are not your reactions. You are the one who sees it all happening. And that means you are the one who can choose differently. Most people ruin their peace over things they could have ignored. They argue with people they could have walked away from. They explain themselves to people who already decided not to listen. They react out of pride, fear, or insecurity, and all it does is trap them in a loop. A loop where every emotion leads to action, and every action leads to regret. But when you break that loop, when you face the urge without following it, you step into a new life. A life where you're calm under pressure. A life where you walk away with dignity. A life where your peace is more valuable than proving you're right. There's no strength in being loud. There's no strength in being quick to anger. The strength is in knowing how you feel and still choosing not to lose yourself in it. That strength pays off everywhere. Your relationships improve because you're no longer overreacting to small things. Your confidence grows because you're no longer emotionally controlled by other people's moods. Your clarity sharpens because your mind is no longer crowded with regret over what you said or did too fast. You start saying less and meaning more. You start carrying yourself with calm energy that people can feel. You start becoming the person who stays grounded when everyone else is losing it. And people notice. They respect it. They trust it. Because it's rare. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to practice. Maybe today you bite your tongue instead of snapping. Maybe tomorrow you pause for 5 seconds before responding. Maybe the next day you walk away instead of diving into drama. These small wins compound. Every time you choose not to react, you're training your mind to stay strong. Exploding is easy. Lashing out is easy. But calm? Calm is discipline. And discipline is what builds the kind of life most people only wish for. A life where you're no longer controlled by what happens around you because you've mastered what happens inside of you. Don't be the person who reacts to everything. Be the one who chooses. The one who decides. The one who holds their power. That's real maturity. That's real self-respect. It's not about winning arguments. It's about walking away with your peace intact. The urge to react will always show up. But so will your ability to pause, to reflect, to breathe, and to choose. And that choice, that small, quiet choice, is where your power lives. If you want to change your life, start there. Face the urge. Look it in the eye and say, "Not this time." That's strength. That's growth. That's how you win. One of the hardest lessons you will ever learn is this. You don't need to correct every wrong opinion people have about you. You don't need to jump into every misunderstanding. You don't need to fight every time someone misreads your actions or questions your intentions. Human beings crave being understood. It's wired into us. We want people to know our heart. We want to be seen for who we truly are. We want to defend ourselves when we feel misjudged. And the urge to explain, to defend, to prove people wrong is powerful. But here's the truth. Not every misunderstanding is worth your time. Not every opinion deserves your emotional energy. There will be people in your life who misunderstand you. Sometimes by accident, sometimes by choice. Some will twist your words. Some will assume the worst without asking. Some will judge your actions without ever looking at your intentions. And the natural reaction is to jump in, to set the record straight, to make them see you clearly. But if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life doing that. Performing, explaining, defending. And in the process, you'll drain yourself trying to win battles that were never meant to be fought. Here's something you need to understand. Some people don't misunderstand you because they lack information. They misunderstand you because it serves them. It gives them power. It fits the story they already want to believe. Protects their ego. It allows them to feel right. And no matter how carefully you explain, no matter how honest you are, they will not change their mind. So what happens if you keep explaining yourself to those people? You lose. You lose your peace. You lose your clarity. You lose your energy. You end up pouring yourself into conversations that go nowhere, conversations where you're not heard, only drained. This is why learning to let people feel wrong about you is so powerful. It's not weakness. It's not passivity. It's maturity. It's strength. It's you deciding that your peace is more important than their approval. It's you protecting your energy instead of wasting it on closed minds. Ask yourself, why do I need them to understand me? What changes if they do? Will their opinion affect my growth, my purpose, my future? If the answer is no, then you need to let it go. You don't owe them your time. You don't owe them your explanations. You owe yourself peace. And here's the truth. Some people will never say sorry. Some people will never admit they misunderstood you. Some people will rewrite the story to make you the villain just so they don't have to take responsibility for how they treated you. And you can't fix that. You shouldn't even try. When you walk away and let them believe what they want, that's not weakness. That's power. That's emotional discipline. That's you refusing to let someone else's perception run your life. You know who you are. You know your heart. And that has to be enough. If you keep chasing approval, you'll never rest. You'll always be performing, always explaining, always correcting. And piece by piece, you'll lose yourself in the process. Because the truth is, you will never win over people who are committed to misunderstanding you. That doesn't mean you stop caring about people altogether. It doesn't mean you avoid every difficult conversation. It means you get wise about which conversations matter and which ones are just noise. If someone truly values you, if they truly respect you, if they come to you with openness and curiosity, then of course, have the conversation. Bring clarity. Share your heart. But if their mind is already made up, if they're looking for a fight, if they're committed to being right, then your silence is more powerful than any explanation. Your peace is more important than their approval. Your growth is more valuable than their opinion. And your energy is far too precious to waste on arguments designed to drag you down. Think about how many hours of your life you've spent defending yourself. How many conversations you've replayed in your head, wishing you had said something different. How many times you've worried about what people are saying behind your back. All of that energy could have been used building your future, working on your goals, healing, living. But instead, you gave it away to people who didn't even want to understand you. That ends now. When you stop needing everyone to see you clearly, you become free. You stop living in response to other people's opinions. You stop being reactive. You stop chasing validation and start choosing peace. You start showing up for yourself instead of showing up to defend yourself. You start living in alignment with who you are, not who others think you are. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every misunderstanding needs to be corrected. Not every person is worth convincing. And the ones who matter, the ones who truly care, the ones who value truth, they will ask questions. They will listen. They won't assume the worst. They'll give you space to be human. But the ones who don't, let them go. Let them believe what they want. Let them feel wrong. And let yourself feel free. Yes, the urge to explain yourself will come strong. It will come fast. You'll feel it in your chest, in your thoughts, in your body. But pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what's the cost of this reaction? What am I giving up to be understood by someone who doesn't care to understand me? Is this really worth my energy? Most of the time, it isn't. And here's the thing. People will talk whether you explain yourself or not. They will judge whether you defend yourself or not. They will create stories whether you clear things up or not. So stop making their opinion your job. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is your peace. There is a deep calm that comes when you finally accept that not everyone will see you clearly, and that's okay. Some people will always see you through their own filter of fear, jealousy, or misunderstanding. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. That doesn't mean you're not enough. It just means they're not ready to see you for who you are. And you didn't come into this life to be liked by everyone. You didn't come here to be understood by everyone. You came here to grow, to live with purpose, to walk in truth, to become someone you can be proud of. And that path doesn't require fixing every wrong opinion about you. So walk your path. Be kind. Be honest. Be strong. And when people misjudge you, when they twist your words, when they make you the villain in their story, pause, breathe, and ask yourself if you even need to say anything. Most of the time, you don't, because silence is your strength. Moving forward is your answer. Peace of mind is your reward. Let them feel wrong. And you? Keep doing what's right. Most people don't realize how quickly they run from discomfort. The second tension shows up, they reach for something to escape it. Some grab their phone. Some distract themselves with food. Some start talking just to fill the silence. Others bury themselves in noise, scrolling endlessly, binging or numbing. And yet, very few people actually stop and learn how to sit with the discomfort, how to breathe through it, how to understand it. But here's the truth. If you want to grow stronger emotionally, you have to stop escaping tension and start sitting with it. Tension is not the enemy. Tension is the teacher. It's not there to destroy you. It's there to reveal something inside you that needs attention. Your body feels tension for a reason. That tightness in your chest, that restlessness in your stomach, that shortness of breath. Those aren't signs of weakness. They're signals. Signals that there's something beneath the surface you've been ignoring. Something unresolved. Something avoided. Something you've been covering up with distraction instead of facing. And if you always run from those signals, you'll never heal them. You'll just keep patching over cracks. You'll stay on the surface, never really addressing what's underneath. And the truth about life is this: what you avoid will always return. The tension will show up again and again until you stop running and finally sit with it. Sitting with tension doesn't mean giving in. It doesn't mean letting it consume you. It means letting yourself feel it without rushing to escape it. It means observing it, breathing through it, noticing it without judgment. It means saying, I feel this. I don't have to run from it. I don't have to fix it instantly. I can just sit with it. That's where growth begins. In the space where most people check out, that's where you need to check in. Discomfort will teach you more than comfort ever can. It will reveal your patterns. It will show you what you've been avoiding. It will test your patience. And if you have the courage to sit with it instead of numbing it, you will begin to learn things about yourself that comfort could never show you. The truth is, you won't always like what you find. You'll notice how quickly your mind looks for escape. You'll see how fast you reach for distractions. You'll realize how much you resist being still. But that awareness is where the power is. Because once you notice it, you can change it. You can retrain your mind. You can learn to stay put, to breathe through it, to let the tension exist without reacting. You're not weak because you feel tension. Every human being does. The difference lies in how you deal with it. Some people run. Others face it. And the ones who face it, they grow. So when tension comes, instead of rushing to escape it, practice staying. When a hard conversation brings silence, sit in it. When a thought comes that makes you uncomfortable, let it pass through you. When your body tightens, notice where it's happening. Is it in your chest? Your shoulders? Your stomach? Just observe. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Just notice it and breathe. This is the beginning of emotional strength. Because if you can sit with tension without running, you can handle anything. You stop being controlled by the need for instant relief. You stop letting fear or anxiety dictate your reactions. You stop making choices just to escape the moment. Instead, you learn to anchor yourself in the middle of it. Most people's mistakes don't come from what they feel. They come from what they do to avoid what they feel. They say things they don't mean. They lash out. They shut down. They make bad decisions not because they're bad people, but because they never learned how to sit in discomfort without reacting. But when you train yourself to stay with tension, something powerful happens. It loses its grip. You'll notice that tension doesn't last as long as you thought. It's the resistance to it, the running from it, that makes it heavier. But when you let it exist, it softens. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts clear. Your heart steadies. And in that stillness, you begin to see the truth of the situation. You don't have to solve everything the moment you feel it. Sometimes your job is just to feel it, to let it pass through. Because feelings aren't permanent. They move. They shift. And if you sit with them, they eventually go. You're not broken for feeling overwhelmed. You're not failing at life because you feel pressure. That's human. The goal isn't to never feel tension. The goal is to not let tension control you. There is a deep peace that comes when you realize you don't need to escape every uncomfortable moment. You don't need to fix it immediately. You don't need to numb it away. You can just sit with it, breathe with it, and watch it move. That's when you realize something powerful. You're bigger than your emotions. You're not your stress. You're not your anxiety. You're not your fear. You're the one who notices them, who holds them, who lets them pass. Tension is just energy, and energy can be managed, shifted, and released without destroying your peace. This skill changes everything. It changes how you deal with conflict. It changes. Reacting, you observe. Instead of collapsing under it, you rise above it. This is how you become the kind of person who doesn't panic under pressure. The kind of person who doesn't lash out when they're uncomfortable. The kind of person who can sit in the middle of chaos and still be steady. That's what emotional power really looks like. Because most people live in cycles. They feel tension. They run. They feel temporary relief. Then the tension comes back stronger. And they run again. That cycle never ends until you break it. And you break it by sitting with the feeling instead of escaping it. That's where healing begins. That's where self-respect begins. That's where maturity begins. Yes, it's uncomfortable. At first, it may feel unbearable. You may want to run, to scroll, to escape. But start small. Sit with it for a few seconds longer than you usually would. Take one deep breath instead of reaching for distraction. Observe the feeling without acting on it. Slowly, you'll notice you're stronger than you thought. You'll learn your thoughts aren't always true. That your body can handle more than you believe. That emotions pass if you let them. You'll stop overthinking because you're no longer avoiding. You're facing. And when you face, you grow. You'll stop needing instant relief. You'll stop fearing discomfort. You'll stop running from emotions that used to control you. Instead, you'll walk through them with presence, with steadiness, with strength. And the more you practice this, the more grounded you become. You'll be the person who doesn't react fast, who doesn't collapse under stress, who listens before speaking. Your presence will change. People will feel it. They'll notice the calm. They'll see the strength. You won't need to announce your control. People will feel it. You won't need to prove your maturity. People will respect it. You'll stop being a slave to your emotions and start being the master of them. And here's the most powerful part. Once you learn how to sit with tension, the fear of it disappears. You stop dreading it. You stop avoiding it. Because now you know tension isn't there to break you. It's there to guide you. It's there to reveal you. And when you finally understand that, you realize the emotions you once feared were never stronger than the version of you that decided to face them. That's the moment you stop running. That's the moment you start growing. That's the moment you take back control. There will be moments in life when your silence is the only thing that protects your peace. Moments when someone says something that hits a nerve. Moments when people misunderstand your actions, twist your words, or make assumptions about you. In those moments, the urge to speak, to defend, to explain yourself comes fast and heavy. You want to make it right. You want them to see your side. You want them to understand you. But one of the most powerful skills you can ever build is this. Valuing your silence more than the need to be understood right away. Not every moment needs a response. Not every misunderstanding deserves your words. Not every situation requires you to give your emotional energy. You don't have to jump in every time someone gets you wrong. You don't have to rush to explain yourself just because someone demands clarity. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is power. The world teaches us the opposite. Says if you don't speak up instantly, you're losing. That if you don't defend yourself quickly, you're weak. That if you don't explain yourself right away, people will believe the wrong thing. And that fear drives people to overtalk, over-explain, and overshare. But that's not strength. That's fear dressed up as urgency. Silence gives you something words never can. Space. And in space, clarity is born. Silence slows the moment down. It helps you see things for what they truly are. It gives you time to notice your own feelings, to separate the heat of emotion from the weight of truth. And when you do speak, you'll speak with intention instead of impulse. Think about the times you reacted too fast, the times you explained yourself too much, the times you jumped into an argument just to clear your name. Did it really make things better? Or did it make things messier, more emotional, more complicated? That's what happens when you speak from urgency instead of clarity. Respecting your silence doesn't mean avoiding every conversation. It doesn't mean suppressing what matters. It means you pause long enough to make sure your words add value instead of adding more confusion. It means you speak when you're ready, not when you're pressured. It means you protect your voice by not wasting it on arguments that don't deserve it. Because there is wisdom in silence. There is strength in holding back when every part of you wants to shout. There is discipline in waiting until your emotions cool before you answer. Most people don't have that discipline. Most people rush to fill the silence because they think silence means weakness. But the truth is, silence often means control. When you learn to sit in silence without needing to fix everything immediately, you become harder to shake. You stop getting pulled into every argument. You stop rushing to defend yourself. You stop talking just to be heard. Instead, you speak from a grounded place, and that makes every word you say carry more weight. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response. Not because you don't care, not because you're ignoring, but because you understand that not every battle deserves your energy. You've seen what happens when you speak too quickly. You've seen what happens when you explain too much. And you've realized that silence doesn't mean losing. It means leading yourself first. The need to be understood instantly is dangerous. Because it makes you chase validation. And the more you chase validation, the more power you give away. Because no matter how much you explain yourself, some people won't get it. Not because you didn't say it right, but because they weren't listening to understand. They were listening to respond. They were listening to judge. So you explain and they twist it. You open up and they ignore it. You clarify and they argue harder. And in the end, you feel drained. That's why you must learn to respect your silence. Not every misunderstanding needs to be corrected. Not every opinion needs your voice. Not every situation deserves your energy. Ask yourself before speaking, is this the right time? Is this the right person? Is this the right energy? And if the answer is no, hold your silence. Don't fill the air just to feel better for a moment. Sometimes the greatest respect you can give yourself is walking away from the need to be understood right now. Respecting your silence is respecting your boundaries. It's protecting your peace. It's showing yourself that your worth doesn't depend on convincing everyone of your truth. It's living in alignment with who you are, not with what people think you are. And yes, some people will misinterpret your silence. They'll call it avoidance. They'll say you're being passive. They'll assume you have no answer. But they don't see what it really takes to hold back when your emotions are on fire. They don't understand the strength it takes to pause when your pride wants to react. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's leadership. The more you practice this, the more you'll see how unnecessary most noise is. You'll look back and realize how many arguments didn't need your defense. How many conversations didn't need your voice. How many moments didn't need your reaction. What they needed was your distance. What they needed was your calm. And you'll notice the shift in yourself. You'll feel lighter. You'll feel stronger. You'll feel proud of how you handled things that once would have thrown you off. That's not just emotional discipline. That's emotional maturity. And that maturity will transform your relationships, your decisions, your entire future. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to be understood instantly to be okay. You can be misunderstood and still be grounded. You can be judged and still be peaceful. You can be questioned and still be clear. The power is in your pause. The strength is in your silence. The freedom is in not needing instant understanding from anyone. Because the moment you stop trying to control how others see you, you gain full control over how you carry yourself. So give yourself permission to stay quiet when you're not ready. Give yourself room to breathe, to think, to process. Let people have their opinions. That's their business. Your business is protecting your energy and speaking only from clarity, not from urgency. The world doesn't need more noise. It doesn't need more overreactions. It doesn't need more people talking just to fill the air. The world needs more people who know when to be still, who know when to pause, who know when silence speaks louder than words. Not every truth needs to be shouted. Not every misunderstanding needs your voice. Sometimes your greatest power is in the words you choose not to say. And when you respect your silence more than the need to be instantly understood, you rise above the noise. You carry yourself with calm strength. You lead yourself in every room you walk into. Because silence isn't absence. Silence is presence. Silence isn't losing. Silence is leading. There's a moment so small most people miss it. A split second when something inside you rises, almost forcing you to speak. Not because it will help, not because it will bring peace, but because your pride refuses to stay silent. That moment comes when you feel judged, when you feel disrespected, when someone questions your decisions or challenges your worth. And in that instant, pride steps forward and demands the microphone. But here's the problem. Pride doesn't speak to solve. Pride speaks to defend. Pride doesn't speak to bring clarity. It speaks to protect your image. And when pride runs your mouth, peace always pays the price. Think about it. How many arguments have gone nowhere because pride was leading the conversation? How many times did you say things that didn't need to be said? Words that didn't heal, didn't solve, didn't help, just because you couldn't stand the thought of looking weak. Pride is loud. Pride is fast. Pride wants the last word. And if you don't learn to notice it, pride will keep pulling you into conflicts that never needed to exist. Pride doesn't care about relationships. Pride doesn't care about understanding. Pride doesn't care about truth. It only cares about protecting your image, even if it costs you peace. You've felt it before. That tightening in your chest. That rush of thoughts. That quick voice in your head whispering, "Say something. Don't let them think they're right. Don't let them disrespect you." That's pride. And the more you obey it, the more trapped you become. Because here's the truth. Pride always promises victory, but it only delivers regret. Tells you, say it now. Prove them wrong. Show them you're not weak. But once the words leave your mouth, once the reaction is done, what are you left with? More conflict, more misunderstanding, more distance, and often the sinking feeling that you lost more than you gained. You've got to train yourself to notice that moment when pride steps forward. At first, it feels like a whisper. Then it grows into an urge you can't ignore. But if you're aware, you can catch it. You can pause. You can ask yourself, do I need to say this? Is this helpful? Or is this just my pride? That pause is where your power lives. Because once you see pride for what it is, you don't have to obey it. You don't have to let it lead. You don't have to turn every misunderstanding into a war just to protect your ego. And yes, it's hard. Pride hates silence. Pride hates restraint. Pride hates patience. Pride always wants to win now. But if you can sit with your pride without giving in, you gain something much more valuable than winning an argument. You gain control of yourself. Think about it. How many times has pride made small issues feel huge? A careless comment turns into a 2-hour argument. A small disagreement becomes a full-blown fight. Pride exaggerates everything. It takes little triggers and turns them into battles. And when you let pride lead, you keep losing your peace, your time, your energy, all for the illusion of being right. Real confidence doesn't need to shout. Real strength doesn't need to prove anything. Real maturity knows when to stay quiet. Because sometimes, silence is louder than words. Sometimes restraint is stronger than reaction. Sometimes walking away is more powerful than fighting to the end. Pride wants you to think silence makes you look weak. But the truth is, silence makes you look in control. Pride wants you to believe you always need the last word. But the truth is, the person who doesn't need the last word always has more strength. Pride wants you to fight for your image. But the truth is, the people who matter most already know who you are. So the next time you feel it, that surge, that pull, that tightening that demands you say something, stop. Recognize it. Ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? Or is this just my pride trying to protect me? Most of the time, you'll realize it's pride. And in that realization, you have a choice. You can let pride win in the moment and lose peace in the long run. Or you can hold your ground in silence, Let the moment pass and protect your energy. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's maturity. The truth is, pride always wants to be right, but being right doesn't always make things better. In fact, being right often leaves you feeling more drained, more frustrated, more disconnected. And the cost of being right is usually too high. Yes, people will test you. They'll speak carelessly. They'll underestimate you. They'll misjudge you. They'll tell the story wrong. And pride will be the first voice that rises inside you. But now you know you don't have to follow it. You can feel it without giving it power. You can hear it without letting it run your life. Because real power is not in proving. Real power is in choosing. Choosing not to speak when it's just pride talking. Choosing peace over image. Choosing dignity over ego. Think about how many problems would have never happened if you had just stayed quiet for one more moment. One more pause. One more breath. One more second of restraint. Think about how many relationships could have been saved, how much regret could have been avoided, how much peace you could have kept. That's the difference pride makes. The more aware you become of it, the less it controls you. The more you recognize it, the more strength you gain. Because pride might always whisper, but awareness means you don't have to obey it. Yes, there will be times when your pride gets the best of you. Times when you react too fast, when you say what you shouldn't have said. That's okay. What matters is that now you're watching. Now you're paying attention. Now you're building the discipline to notice it sooner next time. And every time you catch it before it speaks, you grow stronger. Every time you choose silence instead of shouting, you build maturity. Every time you choose restraint instead of reaction, you build discipline. Every time you choose peace instead of pride, you win. Because in the end, pride always wants to protect your image. But your peace is worth more than your image. Your growth is worth more than your ego. Your future is worth more than being right in the moment. So learn to notice that moment. Learn to catch the whisper. Learn to pause before pride takes control. Because once you do, you'll realize pride doesn't run you anymore. You do. And when you lead yourself with calm, with silence, with patience, you become someone who can't be pulled into every storm. Someone who knows their value without needing to prove it. Someone who doesn't waste their life protecting their ego at the cost of their peace. That's real power. That's real discipline. That's real growth. There's a moment in life that decides everything. A space so small most people never even notice it. It's the space between what you feel and what you do next. And that space, that's where your entire future lies. Most people don't know how to use it. They go straight from feeling to reacting. Anger rises, they shout. Fear shows up, they withdraw. Frustration builds, they snap. Excitement comes, they rush into decisions. Feelings are fast, they hit in seconds. They're strong, sudden, and demanding. But when you let feelings decide your next move, you're letting temporary emotions create permanent consequences. Think about it. How many times have you said something you couldn't take back because you didn't pause? How many times have you made a decision that cost you weeks, months, even years of regret? All because you didn't wait a few seconds before acting on a feeling. The truth is, feelings don't last forever. They move, they shift, they fade. But the consequences of acting on them too quickly can last a lifetime. This is why building space matters. That space is the difference between chaos and clarity, between regret and wisdom, between a life you keep apologizing for and a life you're proud of. Building space means creating a pause, a breath, a moment long enough to separate emotion from action. Even if it's only 3 seconds, those 3 seconds can change everything. Because in that pause, you can choose. You can ask yourself, is this reaction worth it? Is this emotion really telling me the truth? Or just giving me a signal? Do I want to live with the consequences of what I'm about to do? That pause is where your discipline lives. That pause is where your strength begins. Here's the thing. You can't stop feelings from coming. You're human. You will feel angry. You will feel scared. You will feel frustrated, disappointed, excited, overwhelmed. You can't control the wave of emotions that rise inside you, but you can always control how you ride them. And that control starts in the space between feeling and action. Most people never learn this. They live like children in grown-up bodies. When they're uncomfortable, they lash out. When they're angry, they explode. When they're sad, they withdraw into silence. They confuse every feeling for a command. But feelings are not commands. They are signals. And signals are meant to be read, not obeyed. Without space, you'll always react to the surface, the anger, the fear, the stress, and never deal with the root. But when you create space, you give yourself the chance to see deeper. To realize maybe it's not anger. Maybe it's disappointment. Maybe it's not frustration. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's not about this moment at all. Maybe it's about something you never healed from years ago. Space gives you perspective. And perspective always leads to better choices. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It doesn't mean you ignore them. It means you respect them enough to pause before you act on them. You allow yourself to feel fully, but you don't give your feelings the final say. You feel the anger rise, and you breathe before you speak. You feel the fear hit, and you pause before you quit. You feel the excitement rush, and you step back before you commit. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And yes, it takes practice. You won't get it right every time. Sometimes your emotions will win. Sometimes you'll react too fast. But that's not failure, that's awareness. And a war. You build with yourself. Imagine what your life would look like if you mastered this. Imagine the arguments that would never even start. The words you'd never regret saying. The decisions you wouldn't have to undo. The relationships you'd protect. The peace you'd keep. That's the power of a pause. That's the power of building space. Because here's the reality. Most problems in your life aren't caused by what you feel. They're caused by what you do too quickly because of what you feel. It's the text you send in anger. The tone you use in frustration. The choice you make in fear. Feelings aren't dangerous. Reacting without space is. So how do you build this? Start small. When something triggers you, pause for 3 seconds before speaking. When you're about to make a quick decision, take one deep breath first. When you feel the urge to react, notice it in your body, the racing thoughts, the tight chest, the fast heartbeat, and use it as a signal to slow down. This isn't about perfection. It's about training. Training your mind, your emotions, your body to create a gap. A gap big enough for wisdom to enter. And the more you practice it, the more you'll see the results. You'll notice you don't get pulled into every disagreement. You'll feel calmer even when life gets messy. You'll become the steady one in the room, the person others trust in tense situations. You'll be known not for how fast you react, but for how clearly you respond. That steadiness is rare. That steadiness is respected. And that steadiness is what builds trust in relationships, in leadership, in yourself. Because leadership doesn't start with controlling others. Leadership starts with controlling yourself. It starts in that space between what you feel and what you do. It starts in the pause where you decide whether to give away your power or keep it. Feelings will always come. Life will always test you. People will always push your buttons. But your response? That's always your choice. And when you start living in that space, you stop being dragged by every emotional storm. You stop being shaken by every comment, every look, every situation. You stop being ruled by what happens around you and start leading from what's inside you. The world won't slow down for you. It will keep moving, keep testing, keep demanding. So it's up to you to slow yourself down inside. To build space in the middle of the noise. To pause long enough to remember who you are and what kind of life you want to build. When you feel overwhelmed, stop. When you feel disrespected, pause. When you feel misunderstood, breathe. Let the emotion rise. Let it exist. But don't let it push you into actions you'll regret. Let it pass through you. Let it teach you. And then choose with clarity. That's where transformation begins. In the quiet space where nothing has happened yet, but everything can change. In the gap between feeling and action. In the pause where you get to choose your future instead of letting your past decide it for you. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be aware, to build space, to lead yourself, to choose better again and again. And the more you do, the more trust you build with yourself. The more confidence you feel, the more steady you become, Until one day you realize you're no longer reacting the way you used to. You're no longer living in regret. You're no longer letting feelings run your life. Because you've learned the secret. Real power doesn't come from controlling your feelings. Real power comes from creating space before you act on them. And in that space you find freedom. One of the most exhausting battles you can fight in life is trying to control how people treat you. At first, it sounds reasonable. We all want respect, kindness, fairness. We all want to feel valued. But here's the hard truth. You cannot force anyone to act right, speak right, or love you the way you want. People treat you according to who they are, not according to who you are. And the more you chase control over their behavior, the more you lose control over your own peace. Think about how many times your mood was ruined by a single comment. How many days were wasted because someone didn't appreciate you? How many nights you spent overthinking because of how someone treated you? If your peace depends on how others behave, then you've handed your power to them. And once you do that, your happiness, your stability, your energy can be destroyed by something as small as a text message or a tone of voice. That's not strength. That's slavery to someone else's moods. Here's the truth. You can communicate clearly. You can set boundaries. You can act with integrity. You can give love, kindness, effort. But none of that guarantees people will match your energy. Some people will misunderstand you no matter what. Some will disrespect you even when you've done everything right. Some will ignore your value because they simply don't recognize it. That's not your failure. That's their limitation. You have to stop tying your emotional state to how others act. Because trying to control how people treat you is like trying to control the weather. You can prepare for it. You can respond wisely. But you cannot make the sun shine just because you want it to. So stop chasing control where it doesn't exist. Stop bending yourself just to earn the bare minimum from others. Stop explaining, convincing, and performing just to be treated fairly. Respect is not something you should have to beg for. It should never come at the cost of your peace. When you chase people's respect, you end up shrinking yourself to fit their comfort. You start overgiving. You start compromising your values. You start accepting behavior that makes you feel small. And little by little, you lose sight of who you are. Here's what you need to remember. People's behavior is a reflection of them, not you. People project their fears, their insecurities, their past. They lash out because of wounds that existed long before you. They withdraw because of battles you can't see. And if you take it all personally, you'll spend your life adjusting yourself for people who don't even understand themselves. You are not here to fix everyone's attitude. You are not here to earn the respect you already deserve. You are not here to teach people how to treat you. Not endlessly, not repeatedly. Because if someone needs constant reminders to value you, they're not your people. Respect is not proven through begging. It's revealed through patterns. If someone consistently disrespects you, believe it. If someone constantly dismisses you, see it for what it is. Stop waiting for them to change. Stop hoping they'll wake up one day and realize your worth. If they can't see it now, it's not your job to paint it for them. Your job is to protect your energy. Your job is to walk away when respect isn't mutual. Your job is to stop trying to control others and start controlling your own choices. This doesn't mean you accept mistreatment. It means you stop fighting losing battles. It means you stop pouring effort into people who show you, again and again, that they're not ready to meet you where you are. It means you stop chasing their approval and start choosing your peace. Because the truth is, you don't control how people show up. You only control how close you let them get. And the moment you understand that, everything changes. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't want to listen. You stop tolerating behavior that drains you. You stop holding on to relationships that shrink you. Instead, you start surrounding yourself with people who value you without being forced to. People who don't make you question your worth. People who don't require endless explanations just to treat you with basic respect. That's what real self-respect looks like. It's not cutting people off in anger. It's not building walls. It's building boundaries. Boundaries that protect your peace. Boundaries that keep you whole. Boundaries that remind you that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. And here's the beautiful thing. When you stop trying to control others, you gain more control than ever. Not over them, but over yourself. You gain control over your reactions. You gain control over your peace. You gain control over who gets access to you. Because the truth is, some people will mistreat you no matter how good you are. You could give them everything and they'd still find fault. You could love them with your whole heart and they'd still take it for granted. That's not because you're not enough. That's because they're not ready. So stop wasting energy proving your worth to people who can't see it. Stop lowering your standards to make others comfortable. Stop begging for respect you should already have. The right people won't need you to prove anything. They'll see your value without being convinced. And when you stop chasing control, you finally find freedom. Freedom from overthinking. Freedom from begging. Freedom from constantly adjusting yourself for people who don't even know what they want. You find peace. You find strength. You find yourself again. So let people reveal who they are. Believe their patterns. Don't argue with their actions. Don't excuse behavior that hurts you. Don't wait for potential. Pay attention to reality. And then choose wisely. Walk away when you need to. Protect your space. Protect your peace. Because your value is not up for debate. And the moment you stop chasing control over others, you gain full control over your own life. That's where real power begins. Not in forcing people to treat you better, but in refusing to tolerate less than you deserve. There's a kind of freedom most people never experience. The freedom of walking away from a misunderstanding without trying to explain yourself. The freedom of letting someone think what they want without defending, without proving, without draining yourself in circles. Sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Because deep down, we all want to be understood. We want people to know our intentions. We want them to see our hearts clearly. We want to set the record straight when someone gets us wrong. But here's the truth. Not every misunderstanding can be fixed. And not every person is even interested in seeing the truth. Some people don't ask questions because they care. They ask because they want more reasons to doubt you. Some people don't listen to understand. They listen to pick apart your words. Some people don't want clarity. They want conflict. And if you keep explaining yourself to people like that, you'll spend your life exhausted. There's a reason over-explaining leaves you empty. It forces you into conversations where you're not safe, where your words are twisted, where your intentions are questioned, where no matter how carefully you explain, the other person holds on to their version of the story. And at the end of it, you don't feel lighter. You feel smaller. That's why one of the most liberating decisions you can make is this. Choose not to explain yourself when it won't change anything. Not because you're avoiding accountability. Not because you're hiding something. But because you've finally realized your peace matters more than forcing people to see what they refuse to see. Think about it. How many times have you explained yourself again and again, hoping someone would finally get it, only for them to twist your words? How many times have you walked away from a conversation replaying everything you said, wondering if you could have worded it better? How many times have you wasted hours trying to convince someone who was never open in the first place? That cycle ends when you decide your energy is too valuable to waste. You don't owe everyone an explanation. You don't owe everyone your why. You don't owe everyone access to your thoughts. If someone has already made up their mind, your words won't change it. If someone is committed to misunderstanding you, no explanation will be enough. And here's the hard truth. People will talk whether you explain yourself or not. They'll judge whether you defend yourself or not. They'll create stories whether you clarify or not. So stop making their opinion your responsibility. Stop making their version of you your job to fix. Your job is to live in integrity, to walk in truth, to keep your character consistent, to let your actions speak louder than your defenses. If someone misunderstands you after that, let them. That's their choice. That's their story. That's their problem. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. You'll feel the urge rising in your chest to explain. You'll feel the pull in your thoughts to defend. You'll want to make things right, but sit with it. Breathe through it. Remind yourself, if they cared to understand, they'd already be listening. That reminder will save you endless wasted energy. Because here's what you'll notice. The people who truly care don't need long explanations. They don't demand instant defenses. They already know your heart. They already trust your character. And when they don't understand something, they come to you with humility, not judgment. They ask with curiosity, not accusation. Those people are worth your words. But the ones who question everything you do, twist your silence, and push you into defending yourself, they're not looking for understanding. They're looking for control. And the moment you explain yourself to them, you hand them that control. So choose differently. Choose silence. Choose distance. Choose to walk away with your peace intact instead of trying to win over someone committed to misunderstanding you. Because explaining yourself isn't always strength. Sometimes it's insecurity. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's your pride wanting to be right. But silence is often the higher ground. Silence is you saying, I know who I am. I don't need you to validate it. And the more you practice this, the lighter you'll feel. You'll stop second-guessing yourself after every conversation. You'll stop replaying arguments in your head. You'll stop wasting hours trying to be understood by people who never cared to see you clearly. Instead, you'll reclaim your energy. You'll reclaim your focus. You'll reclaim your peace. Here's what most people don't understand. Silence doesn't mean you lost. Silence means you've grown. It means you've learned the difference between a fight worth having and a fight designed to drain you. It means you value your time more than someone's opinion. Because in the end, you can't convince someone who's committed to their version of you. And trying to do so is a trap. A trap that keeps you stuck explaining, defending, performing until you forget who you really are. So let them misunderstand you. Let them tell their story. Let them believe what they want. Because your job isn't to control their mind. Your job is to stay aligned with your truth. And when you do, something shifts. You stop chasing validation. You stop feeling the need to defend every move. You stop explaining changes you've made in your life to people who don't even want to see your growth. You start walking in freedom. Freedom is not everyone agreeing with you. Freedom is knowing you don't need them to. So the next time you feel that urge to explain yourself, stop. Ask yourself, is this going to change anything? Will this bring peace? Or will it only feed conflict? Is this worth my energy? Most of the time, the answer will be no. And in that moment, choose silence. Choose stillness. Choose peace. Because your life doesn't need constant commentary. It needs direction. It needs discipline. It needs your focus. And every time you choose not to explain yourself when it's pointless, you're building that discipline. You're building that freedom. Not everyone deserves your explanation. Not everyone deserves access to your heart. Not everyone deserves to know your why. Save that for people who listen with care. Save that for people who show you they value your truth. Save that for people who are worth it. For everyone else, let silence be your answer. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing. There will be days when everything around you feels loud. People asking for things. Deadlines pressing in. Notifications piling up. Conflicts rising. Unexpected problems landing on your shoulders when you're already drained. And in the middle of it all, there's one thing the world keeps doing. Pulling your energy in every direction. Everyone wants something from you. Everything feels urgent. And if you're not careful, you'll give yourself away piece by piece until there's nothing left for you. You'll say yes when you mean no. You'll get pulled into conversations that don't matter. You'll react to every little thing until you're exhausted. Not because you did too much, but because you gave your energy to the wrong things. That's why you have to learn how to hold your energy. Not because you're selfish. Not because you don't care. But because you know your peace is fragile if you don't protect it. The truth is, your energy is your most valuable currency. And if you hand it out carelessly, the world will spend it for you. It'll leave you scattered, drained, and resentful. But if you hold it wisely, you'll find clarity, strength, and presence even in the busiest of seasons. This is not about building walls. It's about building boundaries. Boundaries that protect your focus. Boundaries that protect your peace. Boundaries that remind you that not every situation deserves your full emotional attention. Because here's the difference. Being present and being pulled are not the same. Being present means you're here, grounded, focused. Being pulled means your attention, your emotions, and your energy are scattered in 100 directions by forces outside of you. Think about how easily it happens. One text ruins your mood. One comment steals your confidence. One look makes you question yourself. And suddenly, your whole day feels different. That's not because you're weak. It's because you didn't protect your energy. You have to learn this truth. Not everything deserves your full reaction. Not every message needs your immediate attention. Not every conflict deserves your emotional investment. You get to choose where your energy goes. And that choice, made consistently, will shape the quality of your life. Because when you let the world decide, you'll always be drained. But when you decide, you'll always be steady. Here's what happens when you don't hold your energy. Your mind gets tired, and when your mind is tired, your decisions get weaker. Your heart gets drained, and when your heart is drained, your patience gets shorter. Your focus gets scattered, and when your focus is scattered, your progress disappears. And over time, you lose yourself. Not all at once, but slowly, piece by piece, until exhaustion feels normal. That's why you need to pause and ask yourself, who or what is pulling my energy right now? Do I really need to give this my attention? Or do I need to step back and protect myself? You are not being rude by protecting your peace. You are not being distant by creating space. You are being responsible. Because the version of you that shows up tired, reactive, and overwhelmed is not serving anyone. But the version of you that shows up calm, clear, and steady, that version is powerful. When you hold your energy, you don't stop caring. You just stop bleeding. You stop pouring into places that only drain you. You stop trying to fix everything. You stop trying to meet every demand. Instead, you choose wisely. You stay strong in a world that's always pulling. Start by noticing patterns. Who do you feel lighter around, and who do you feel heavier around? What situations leave you drained every time? What habits scatter your mind instead of sharpening it? Pay attention. Those are the places where your energy leaks. And once you see it, you can shift it. You can step back from people who constantly drain you. You can set boundaries with situations that pull you down. You can put down your phone instead of scrolling until your mind is restless. You can say no to what doesn't serve you, without guilt. Because protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. Here's the trap many people fall into. They confuse endless giving with love. They think burning themselves out is proof of their care. But that's not love. That's exhaustion dressed as kindness. Real love doesn't drain you dry. Real love starts with self-respect. And self-respect says, I can care about others without losing myself in the process. And here's the other trap. Giving your emotional access to people who don't know what to do with it. Not everyone deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves to pull at your emotions whenever they want. Just because someone demands your energy doesn't mean they've earned it. You are not a solution to every problem. You are not a reaction to every emotion. You are not responsible for carrying every burden. You are allowed to protect yourself. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to be still when the world is loud. This isn't about disconnecting from people. It's about reconnecting with yourself. Reconnecting with your center. Reconnecting with your priorities. Because when you're centered, you give from strength, not obligation. You give without resentment. You give without breaking yourself down. And that's the version of you the world really needs. Not the exhausted version who's always drained, but the strong version who knows when to pull back and when to show up. So hold your energy. Guard it like the rare currency it is. Decide who gets access to it. Decide what's worth it. And stop apologizing for choosing your peace over their demands. Because when you hold your energy, everything changes. You think clearer. You feel stronger. You show up calmer. You start to recognize yourself again. Not the scattered, reactive version the world tried to pull apart, but the steady, grounded version you were always meant to be. And the world will still spin. People will still demand. Problems will still come. But you won't be pulled in every direction anymore. You'll be steady. You'll be strong. You'll be free. Because peace doesn't come from controlling the world around you. Peace comes from controlling what you allow inside. And when you choose to hold your energy, you finally take back that control. Most people don't realize this, but life keeps offering you two choices in almost every conflict you face. Do you want to win, or do you want peace? And far too often, people pick winning, not realizing it costs them the very thing they're chasing, peace. Think about it. How many arguments have you dragged out just to prove you were right? How many late-night conversations turned into battles? Not because you didn't know the truth, but because you couldn't let go until the other person admitted it. And at the end, did you really feel better? Or did you feel drained, heavy, disconnected? Winning feels good for a moment, but peace lasts. The truth is, being right doesn't always make your life better. In fact, the need to always be right is one of the fastest ways to lose your joy. Because the people around you aren't projects to be conquered. They're humans with flaws, emotions, and blind spots, just like you. And if you keep fighting to win, you'll end up surrounded by silence, resentment, and distance. Peace, on the other hand, is a higher form of victory. Peace means you chose not to waste your energy proving what didn't need to be proven. Peace means you valued the relationship more than your ego. Peace means you decided your mental health was worth more than your pride. And here's the truth. Real strength is not in forcing others to admit you're right. Real strength is in letting go when you could have fought but chose not to. This doesn't mean you accept lies. It doesn't mean you ignore disrespect. It doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It means you pick your battles with wisdom. It means you stop spending hours trying to correct every wrong. It means you recognize that sometimes silence says more than words ever could. Because not every fight is worth it. Not every misunderstanding deserves your full effort. Not every disagreement needs a winner. When you live to win, your days are filled with tension. But when you live for peace, your days are filled with strength. You move lighter. You speak calmer. You live freer. Look at the people who are always chasing the win. They look restless. They look tired. They look angry at the world. But look at the people who choose peace. They look steady. They look grounded. They look untouchable. That's who you want to be. Not the person who needs the last word. Not the person who argues over every detail. Not the person who wastes hours proving something that doesn't even matter in the long run. You want to be the person who walks away when the energy isn't worth it. The person who values their calm more than their ego. The person who protects their spirit more than their image. Because peace is priceless. And once you lose it, you'll realize no argument was worth it. You'll notice this shift the moment you start choosing differently. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You'll feel your pride scream inside. Say something. Prove it. Don't let them think they're right. But if you breathe, if you let that wave pass, you'll discover something powerful. Nothing actually happens when you let go. The world doesn't end. You don't lose. You simply move on lighter. And with time, that lighter feeling becomes addictive. You realize you don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to respond to every challenge. You don't need to correct every misunderstanding. You start saving your energy for what matters. You start living with more focus, more clarity, more peace. That's what maturity looks like. Not in knowing more, but in choosing less. Not in winning more, but in needing less. Because here's the truth. Most of the things you fight for today won't matter in a year. Most of the arguments you lose sleep over won't even be remembered. But your peace? That always matters. Your mental health? That always matters. Your energy? That always matters. So every time you face the choice, win or peace, ask yourself, what do I really want? Do I want to feel right for a few minutes? Or do I want to feel steady for the rest of the day? Do I want to prove something meaningless? Or do I want to protect something priceless? Choose peace. Every time. Because peace doesn't mean you lost. It means you won differently. It means you won in silence. It means you won in restraint. It means you won in wisdom. And when you start living this way, something shifts inside you. You stop feeling dragged into every storm. You stop wasting your days on meaningless battles. You stop carrying tension that doesn't belong to you. Instead, you start moving with clarity, with lightness, with quiet confidence. And people will notice. They'll wonder how you stay so calm. They'll wonder why nothing seems to shake you. They'll wonder how you carry yourself with so much control. And the answer will be simple. You stopped needing to win and you started choosing peace. That's where real power lies. That's where real freedom begins. That's the discipline that changes your life.